You're listening to The Real Fan Review with Hav, Sanj, Al, and B.
What's going on, podcasters and YouTubers? This is Hav here, one of your hosts from The Real Fan Review. Today with me, we got my boy Sanj.
Good evening, everybody. As always, it's a pleasure to be with you.
Barry White.
we got my Barry White here. We got my brother B.
Hey, what's going on?
And we got our man in the chair, Al, with us.
How's it going, everybody?
Awesome, man. We got a lot of things to talk about, man. This Disney investor call that came out on Thursday was absolutely bananas with all the trailers and a bit of information for Star Wars and Marvel. We got Spider-Man 3 news, and we also got that finale for the one episode before the finale for the Mandalorian episode 7. And let's get right into that Disney investor call, because that's probably the biggest thing that was talked about this week by everybody. And we're going to go right into the Marvel section first, and then we'll go talk about the Star Wars stuff. So with Marvel, they had Feige come out there and just you ever seen that trick where they take the tablecloth off the table? That's basically what he did. And look at this trick.
Guy came out like Gladiator. Are you not entertained?
I'm like, are you gonna stop announcing shit?
That's the hot gates.
So listen, man, I think one of the biggest things that we came out of there, let's talk about the trailers for the stuff that's coming out in the next couple of months there, or within the next couple of, within this year at least, is we saw a WandaVision trailer. We saw a trailer for the Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and we also saw a trailer for Loki, the series there. Now, after seeing all those, Al, which one stood out to you the most from those trailers?
Surprisingly, Loki.
Wow.
That was I was expecting like WandaVision or Falcon and Winter Soldier to grab me the most, but the one that actually made me really want to see it, to see what it's about, was Loki.
Loki. And how about for you, Brandon? Which one out of those three?
I would agree. I think Loki, it looked really exciting. And then, looking into like Captain and the, Falcon and the Winter Soldier, looking into they had a lot of interesting things going on there. But I don't know, it looked a little too ordinary for me. I feel like after watching Aliens and all that stuff, him dodging some missiles isn't so exciting. So I'm excited for that because, if it takes anything after Cap 2, that'd be pretty cool. And then WandaVision looked really cool. It's just, I want to see it. I'm more curious about it than blown away.
Gotcha, man. How about you, Sanj? Which one stood out to you the most?
I agree with Brandon that the Captain, the Winter Soldier, and Falcon looked like you would expect it to look. It didn't look out of the ordinary in any way. Loki, and I agree with that, where Loki looks like the most exciting cinematically, but I'm also most curious about the WandaVision show because of the fact that it doesn't look like anything that we've seen yet, and it looks like. I'm really curious to see what it's about because it has so much stuff going on, and different like cinema views in the trailer. Like you have the black and white, and it's kind of like old timey in some ways, and then you see them as their superhero selves as well. So one has me the most intrigued, I should say.
Yeah, man, I think with you, Sanj, on this one, man, the WandaVision trailer, even though it's nothing really different from what we've seen already, I'm just way more interested in that because the Falcon and the Winter Soldier kind of look like a Falcon and Winter Soldier movie that we would see in the theater. So I'm interested. I definitely want to see it. But something that stands out the box is that WandaVision, the whole thing of them going through the different time periods. But it's not only that, it's trying to figure out why they're going through those time periods. You know what I mean? To figure out what is really at play there. There's so much mystery to it. Is she going to say no more mutants, but say more mutants instead? Bring on the X-Men? I forgot the guy's name, the fast guy that was her brother. Quicksilver.
Oh, Quicksilver.
If he's gonna show up, if the Quicksilver from the Fox's Marvel franchise is gonna show up as well. There's so much intrigue to find out what's going on. How's Vision alive? Is Vision gonna be alive from here on out? Who else might show up on the show? And it's just so much more intrigue. Plus, it's also coming out in 4 weeks from now. So I'm more interested. Let's get to it right now. You know what I mean? But I find
there was a big hint about. I'm sorry to interrupt, Bob.
No,
I
go
think there
for
was
it.
a big hint about Vision in the trailer, because at one point you see the Mind Stone featured heavily, and it looks like she's
Yeah.
going into the Mind Stone herself with her psych powers. So I think it has a lot to do with her going into. It seems to me like it would be something with her going into the Mind Stone itself
Yeah.
and working through that somehow.
Yeah, I got you, man. And like but you and Brandon have a point there, Al, with the Loki series. It does seem very interesting to see what he's gonna do, because for some reason I got my like one of my old school favorite TV shows was Quantum Leap. And it
Uh-huh.
looks like he might be doing some kind of either quantum leap kind of thing where he's going into different universes as somebody else, or he's looking for Loki in different places. Like, I don't know. I just didn't get what was really going on there. And it just seems like kind of crazy.
Did we
Yeah.
also catch one of the scenes? It came by really quick. It
Uh-huh.
kind of looked like we saw Black Widow on Premiere, but I wasn't sure.
Yeah.
It looked
It
there
did
was
look like that.
it was someone with like reddish style hair. It was kind of short, which I know in Endgame her hair was long, but like
Right.
sitting there, and it might not be her, but like just like the setting looked like Vermeer. It looked
Uh-huh.
like she was sitting there. I'm like, are we gonna get like a little Black Widow, revisit, whether we bring her back or not,
Yeah, absolutely, man. I mean, it's
Yeah.
interesting. I can't wait to see all this stuff, man. And
Yeah.
I think what WandaVision is January 15th.
January 15th.
Yeah, and that one kicks off a lot of their storylines because
Mhm.
what did he say? WandaVision ties into
Doctor
not only
Strange
Doctor
and
Strange, but
Spider-Man.
also Spider-Man 3. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, so we're definitely getting a multiverse, and all this stuff with the other Spider-Man is definitely true. That was my take when he made that comment. Yeah.
Absolutely,
I like
man.
I like them doing the multiverse because it gives them the ability to do so many different storylines and tie everything together with different actors that we've seen, across the last couple decades or so, doing all these different characters. I really like
Yeah,
that to do.
hopefully. I mean, and that
Yeah,
kind of
like-
leads us to
okay.
go for it, Brandon.
I was gonna say, like, I kind of feel like as excited as I am for everything, it seems like they're bringing everything in. Like from the new
Yeah.
stuff, like Armored Wars is talking about having Riri come in as Iron Heart. It kind of seems like they're bringing everything to the Marvel universe now. So I'm kind of like, I'm not worried about it, but I'm wondering, like, how is Marvel gonna bring in new stuff down the road when everything is coming now?
Right. It just seems.
No,
I
interesting.
mean, you gotta remember they got a lot of storyline to pull
This
from.
is
They have
true.
like almost an infinite amount of storyline to pull
I
from,
mean-
and somewhere Martin Scorsese is dying a little bit.
The only thing I'm afraid of with them doing all this is they're bringing out so much, and they're tying they tend to tie everything together. What do they do if one of these shows doesn't hit?
Yeah.
Yeah,
You gotta wonder, but
Like-
let's be honest though. We gotta kind of trust them now. I mean, they have a body of work of how many years?
Yeah.
10
No,
years
that's-
of
yeah.
MCU. You know what I mean? Like, even if
Just
one
hope
sucks,
all
I'm
hits
willing
it.
to give the next one a shot. Oh man.
Yeah.
Yeah, but listen, speaking of like the multiverse and like Sandra saying multiple actors and Al Spain talking about bringing in more and more characters, one of the things that wasn't announced in the show, what was happening was there was big news this week about Spider-Man 3. Spider-Man 3, we're still not sure of the name of the title of the show of the movie, but man, are we getting casting rumors and castings like that are verified, as in Alfred Molina back as Dr. Octopus. There's talk about Andrew Garfield is actually signed up. They're still working on Tobey Maguire's contract. They're saying
He
Gwen
wants like
Stacy's
15
back.
million or something like that to play Spider-Man in the movie.
Listen, Sanj, if they said, listen, we got everybody here, we just need you. I'm like, oh, really?
Oh, really?
You just need
mean-
me?
The
Little
OG.
old me?
Puts his cards down on the table.
Yeah, man. So, I mean, like, it just seems like they're bringing in everyone to do this. Either Spider-Verse or the multiverse is going to let us see all these different Spider-Men. What's your guys' thoughts? Like, Sanj, what's your thought about seeing all these two different Spider-Men back in there, if they are, and Dr. Octopus, and also Jamie Foxx's Electro? Are you getting worried about too many characters in the movie, or you think, like, this is going to be crazy?
Normally, I'd get weary about that many characters being in the story, like, because remember when the original Spider-Man 3, it suffered from having too much going on at one time. But if we go to the Miles Morales Spider-Man animated Spider-Man movie that came out recently, that dealt with the multiverse, and you had all of those characters in it, and we saw how you can't, once you have a good story to go along with all those characters and tie them together in on the screen, then it can work, and it can work really well, as it did in the Miles Morales Spider-Man movie. The reason the previous Spider-Man, I mean 3, didn't work was because it felt like they had separate storylines in the same movie, and they were doing separate things with the characters, and it was just too much going on, and it wasn't being tied together very well. So if they have a good story, which, like you said before, at this point we kind of have to trust them because of the body of work that they have. So I'm up for it.
Yeah. And how about you, B? What's your thoughts on all the Spider-Man in there?
I'm excited. I'm just waiting for the Miles Morales. I'm waiting for
I know,
that
that's what I
announcement to
want.
come out.
That's what I want to hear, man. Miles Morales' is name. Who's
'Cause
cast
that
to
could
play
be
that?
a new Disney Plus show. That could be anything. It could be another set of movies. And I mean, like, I think about it at the same time, like, I thought the same thing, Sanj, about overcrowding. Like, if there's going to be 3 Spider-Men, there's going to be a Gwen Stacy, a Mary Jane. They talked about bringing Charlie Cox in to play the Daredevil,
Right,
and in some capacity. He might not be Daredevil, but he may be in the movie. Then you're talking about many members of the Sinister Six, who we've seen other members as well. So my thinking is, like, if they do this right, we could have 3 Spider-Men versus the Sinister Six, like, and that could make sense, and that could be cool.
Right. And how about you, Al, man, with the Spider-Man going into all these characters? I always tell people, if you think that there's too many characters in a movie, how about Avengers Endgame? So
Right? I was thinking it. I'm glad you said it. I was thinking the same thing.
Yeah, man. So what's your thoughts?
I mean, it's like Sanj said, if they do the story right and they develop it the way they did the Spider-Verse animated, it can come off well, and I think we'll get a good movie. But one thing I was always wondering was, what if it's just him flashing through the universes? So we see each Peter Parker and their counterpart, Mary Jane or Gwen Stacy, as he's going through their universe. So you're bringing all these actors in to reprise their roles for a scene as he's jumping through their universe. So I'm wondering if and that's how they get around it being too much, because it's still him dealing with
almost like cameos kind of thing to the thing.
Yeah. Like they're there maybe for 5-10 minutes, but then he moves on to another universe and then another one and then back to his. And like, I want to see, when I heard about Chris Cox coming in to play Daredevil, I was excited because I always, that was it. Even if he just comes on as the attorney, and that's all we get right now, and like
we
as
still
fans,
know we still know
what
that character
exactly.
is,
as the fans, we know what's potential and what they're opening the door to.
Right.
Yeah, I think just him there as the attorney would get me excited for the future of what's coming.
If they did that, Al, going just having him jump through the Spider-Verse and have the other actors have cameos, that can still work, and that will help it to not be so crowded. But again, it comes back to, what's the purpose for him jumping through the Spider-Verse? Why is he doing it? What is he trying to achieve? What's the threat, right? If they answer those questions well, and they have a good story around that, well, that works out too. And then you don't get the crowding, and then each actor gets to own their version of the character in their scene and present it that way, so that we can appreciate it.
Yep.
Yeah,
I think that's actually a really cool idea, because there's been a lot of animated Spider-Man shows specifically, that have dealt with the Spider-Verse in some capacity, just like this. Just recently there was like I forget what the name of this series of Spider-Man was. It was like Spider-Man, like Web Warriors or something like that. And they did like a Spider-Verse over 4 episodes. But in that episode, they would cover 2 different Spider-Men. So he would end up going into one of their Earths at like a pivotal moment, like to help in a fight, this and that. So he could visit Tobey Maguire's Spider-Verse and fight Doc Ock with him, and then head to Garfield's Earth and fight Electro. And then like when he's facing off, these guys may come together to form the Sinister Six across a multiverse. and the two of them would come back to help him, kind of thing like that. A lot of shows have kind of done that, so I could see them going that route, and that could work with the overcrowding issues, just to develop story, because you only get the 2 hours, 2.5 hours. So I could see them doing that and develop the story and having them come back at the end to do a big fight with everybody. I think that would be a really cool way of doing it.
Yeah, I think my worry.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Hop.
No, I was gonna say my worry is that they left off the last Spider-Man Far From Home with him. Looks like he's gonna be on the run because he's being, they saying that he's the one who committed the murder of Mysterio, right? So my thought is, if they're dealing with the multiverse, that's a way for him to explain why he's not around to be chased around. But at the same time, I almost kind of don't want them to lose sight of that. That's where they left him off. Like there's supposed to be some kind of the theme going on here for him being chased and being on the run kind of thing. So I hope they don't forget about that part as well.
For what if they bring one of the other Spider-Mans to his universe, and then have him stand next to them as they're doing Spider-Man, and that's how he gets to see it's not me.
Ah, nice. I got you. Real nice. That's a good one.
Yeah.
Didn't think about that one.
There's actually, like, if the last episode of Star Trek: The Next Generation, the series, had a very similar thing where Picard was jumping back and forth through 3 different time periods. Mm-hmm. So you got to see different, like, alternate versions of a lot of the characters in the future time frame. And then but the story focused on something he had to do in all 3 different time frames in order to achieve, save the day, or, save the universe, or whatever, right? So, and it worked out, and that episode worked out really, really well, like how they did it. So you had all these characters, you had all these different storylines, you had all these different things going on, but it focused on him and his task, and how he's interacting in these different time frames to do that. So there's ways they can do it. I've seen it done before. I've seen this done before. So, and it's been done well. So I'm very, very confident in Marvel and Kevin Feige's ability and all of them to put a good product out there.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. And we're talking about waiting within a year to see this.
Yeah.
Spider-Man 3 is supposed to be coming out next year, November, which is nuts.
What? One of the things, if they do put all 3 of the Spider-Men together, I just want Andrew Garfield and I drew a blank on the
Tobey Maguire.
The latest Spider-Man. What's his name?
Tom Holland.
Andrew Garfield and Tom Holland to make fun of Tobey Maguire and say, "Yo, those are really actually coming out of your wrists." Because
that's right.
Remember, they actually have mechanical.
Oh, gross! Ooh. So crazy. I forgot about that one.
I was like, how do you do that?
Yeah.
Revisit the Spider-Man 1 scene.
I remember all that stuff, man. That's awesome.
Go in, fly win.
Yeah, man. And then listen, other Marvel news. We'll jump into like all the stuff in one shot there. So see which one stands out to you guys, which one you're least looking forward to, or which one are you actually like surprisingly looking forward to. So we also got little notes here about America Chavez in Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, along with Wanda, Wanda Maximoff in the Multiverse of Madness. There we have also Miss Marvel being in Captain Marvel 2. In She-Hulk, they're bringing back Abomination, and also our Mark Ruffalo as the Hulk is going to be in that show. They're doing Secret Invasion, but on Disney Plus, just featuring
Talos,
which is played by Ben Mendelsohn, and also Nick Fury, which is just Sam Jackson. And I'm surprised they're doing Secret Invasion on Disney Plus rather than a big ass movie, but we trust them, right? Ironheart, Armor Wars starring War Machine. This is pretty funny. The Guardians of the Galaxy holiday special for next year. There's going to be an I Am Groot TV show. This is a movie, Ant-Man and the Wasp, in the Quantum Mania is going to be their third Ant-Man movie there. And one of the bigger news is that they're not recasting the Black Panther. And then the last bit of news is that John Watts is the guy who directs all the Spider-Man movies so far. They're tasking him to bring the Fantastic Four into the main fold there of the MCU. So out of all that news there, Brandon, which one is the one that shined the most to you? Which one shined the least to you? Or which one are you like just most interested in?
I'm interested in everything. I mean, I'll be honest. The thing I'm not looking so much forward to is the holiday special. I mean, it speaks the least to me. I mean, there's all such an awesome news there, but like it goes back to what I said earlier. Is like, you know, by bringing everyone in now, what does Marvel do later? And while there is like a thousand different stories they can use, a lot of those stories lead to here, you know. So like, I'm interested because like, you know, you mentioned America Chavez going into Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, right?
Yeah,
and she's Miss America. So she could be a parallel universe where there is like a Captain America, you know, and she's pretty interesting. I think having the Abomination coming back in She-Hulk is awesome, especially because cool. that actor, he is a very good television actor. So whereas you may not have liked his performance in the Hulk, he's a great television actor. So if he ends up being like the villain of the series, I think that would be a great move for him because he's very good on television. Armored Wars, you know, having Don Cheadle have his own show with Riri Williams as Ironheart, I think is pretty cool because that came from like a comic book where basically like Iron Man's worst fears come to fruition, where his suits basically get taken and used for the wrong reason. So I think like a show based around them fighting all these different Iron Man armors might be pretty awesome. You know, maybe the last episode being like the Hulk armor, you know, Hulk Buster. So I think that could be a great thing. I don't know. There's just so much news and it's all so exciting.
Yeah. I think the thing that go for it, Brandon.
I was going to say, I think the news that kind of interests me the most though is having Miss Marvel showing up in Captain Marvel with Monica Rambeau, because that's going to be a movie now that has 3 characters who go essentially by Captain Marvel or Marvel in some way, shape, or form. You know, so is this going to be like I don't want to say anything bad about Brie Larson. Is this a fading out for Brie Larson as Captain Marvel? Is this the extension now of knowing we may have more Miss Marvels around? Or, you know, what does this lead to? Because you now have these 3 characters. Does Rogue get in the mix? Because Rogue, you know, from the comics, Rogue mainly gets her big powers from touching Miss Marvel, who is Captain Marvel. You know, Rogue didn't have the ability to fly and have super strength until she touched Miss Marvel or Captain Marvel. So is this maybe the entrance for Rogue? You know, because this could be interesting.
Yeah, it sounds interesting. I think one of the things that I was most interested in was John Watts being the director for the Fantastic Four. For some reason, I had my high hopes because they're Disney Marvel that Brad Bird, who did The Incredibles, would have done the Fantastic Four, you know what I mean? Or even the guy who does the Ant-Man and the Wasp or the Ant-Man series. I know he's really into the Fantastic Four as well. To hear that the Spider-Man guy is doing it is pretty interesting, and which, again, leaves me with no doubts that he'll knock it out the park also to bring back the Fantastic Four the right way. But I think one of the bigger pieces of news, the pieces of news there that I saw was they're not going to recast the Black Panther. And I thought that was pretty, you know, it was pretty awesome because I understand why they're not going to recast him because of, you know, what Chadwick Boseman brought to the character and how he made it his own character. Like that guy just changed the way we looked at that character, right? You know, we've never saw Black Panther before, so to us, he is Black Panther. You know what I'm saying? So for them to not recast it now, I'm just interested in how they're going to move this story along. You know, is there going to be just another person as a Black Panther, a new Black Panther, or because he basically said there's not going to be another T'Challa. You know what I mean? So I get that, but what are they doing with that series? The name of the thing is Black Panther 2. So I'm very interested to see in how they handle that. I think like you said, Brandon, I think if anything was something that didn't hit me like, oh my God, I can't wait to see, was the holiday special. But even with that, because it's the Guardians of the Galaxy, I'm going to definitely check it out. So
It's going to be hilarious.
Yeah, exactly,
It's going to
man.
be hilarious.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I could see Drax just trying to be like Santa Claus because he can hide. He can be invisible.
But he's standing
Like,
still.
I can bring gifts like Santa. Like, I could see something like not some nonsense like that.
Yeah, man. So Sanj, man, how about for you, brother? What's the stuff that stands out to you on all those Marvel shows?
Them definitively saying that they're not recasting T'Challa is
That's pretty big.
That was a big announcement. I'm a little disappointed, but I understand. I wanted more of T'Challa's story, but I definitely understand. I mean, it is a fact that Chadwick Boseman owned that character. It is his, so it's not a bad decision. But that was to finally get an answer. What's going to happen with this? I was at least happy to have an answer for that. So that was very interesting. The fact that Groot is getting his own show, like, I mean, I am Groot. He says 3 words all the time. So this is going to be really, really interesting to see how he gets his own show off of that, right? And then the Hulk, bringing back Mark Ruffalo and Abomination, and now introducing She-Hulk to the MCU. Because as far as standalone movies, the Hulk has been one of the weaker parts of all the franchises out there. So it's been one of the weaker things that we've seen, and Hulk as a character hasn't done very well on his own. So now that they're expanding the Hulk universe per se, with She-Hulk, I'm really, really interested to see where they go with that, because I think Mark Ruffalo's been doing a really good job playing both the Hulk and Bruce. Dr. Banner. So that I'm intrigued by that, to see if they can put something together there that's up to the quality that we expect from the rest of Marvel.
Yeah, absolutely, man. How about you, Al, man? What's your thoughts on all those different shows that are coming out?
I have to agree with y'all. The one that I was least expecting, looking forward to, was the holiday special. Yeah. But the one that stood with me even throughout the rest of the announcements, just like y'all are saying, it was that they weren't recasting. That's the one that even while I was watching them, I kept sticking on, because it was like one of those decisions where I thought it was the right decision, but the wrong one at the same time. I agree. Like, I understand where they're coming from. They're honoring a colleague. They're honoring a friend. That they decided this was their way of paying tribute to him and honoring his legacy. But at the same time, I disagree with it in a way, because I felt like they could have honored his legacy by continuing the character and then just transitioning it away into a new story, or transitioning to a new story, and still honoring him by honoring the character he created and brought to life. It made me just even more interested in what they're going to do with that story, where they're taking it, how do you without recasting, even for the beginning scene of the movie, how do you transition away from T'Challa when he was a big part of Infinity War, and he's at the end of Endgame. He's, by all assumptions, taking over leadership aspect of the Avengers and that initiative. So it just makes me wonder what they're now having to, those are big shoes to fill. How do they transition into it, and what are they going to do? Because that's obviously going to play a factor into other movies and other storylines that they were going to bring, especially with all these shows that they were bringing. Ms. Marvel is one that I'm looking forward to, because I know nothing about the character, but the little bits that I have seen, it seems it's great that they're going to bring in a different dynamic into people's homes. It's a culture that they haven't really stressed. You don't really see it portrayed on many shows, TVs, movies. So to see it get life and representation, I think will be great, as well as exposing everybody to a character who hasn't really had much shine. So.
Yeah, man, that's kind of crazy, man. And then the last thing we'll talk about Marvel is, with different characters like America Chavez showing up, the two kids in the WandaVision show, and then you kind of hear that Cassie Lang is going to be in the Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania movie. I'm surprised they didn't announce a Young Avengers movie or a Young Avengers Disney Plus show. If you guys had to guess, are we going to get that in Phase 5, Phase 6, or Disney Plus, or the movie theaters? What's your guys' take on that?
I feel like Spider-Man 3 is this phase's Civil War.
Okay.
The way it's shaping out to be, I feel like that's what this movie is going to be. If not, maybe Doctor Strange, in the Multiverse of Madness. Like, I feel like those two movies in some way will be this phase's, penultimate thing. Just like we've had in the past, leading up to either a big event or something new. So I think that's going to be what leads off into our new Phase 5. And I think that's going to be the one that has the Young Avengers. I think that'll be the phase that has our mutants. I feel like whatever comes of this phase is what brings upon the mutants and brings upon the idea of not just the multiverse, but expanded universe. So I feel like this is going to be the thing that makes mutants, Young Avengers, the Thunderbolts, all possible for whatever villain may come because of the events of this movies.
Yeah.
Of this phase.
What about you, Sanj?
I'm not sure. I really don't know. With Young Avengers, I mean, there's just because they just announced so much stuff, and are you gonna add more to it? It seems like it's overload. Like they got to develop what's there, So I don't know.
And we're having a lot of young superheroes now being introduced within these Disney Plus shows. Between Riri Williams, Ironheart, you now have Miss Marvel. We're getting all these young characters. I mean, even the new Hawkeye show.
Right.
Bishop,
Kate Bishop.
Kate Bishop. You now have a lot of young superheroes coming to the mix. So I feel like Sanj, I agree. Like, I think this is really going to be the thing. Like, we don't know where this is heading, but I think because of this, being a lot of things, I think this is going to develop into that Young Avengers in the future.
Yep.
What's your call, Al?
I can see it. I think it would be late in the game, but I can see them bringing something, either Disney Plus special where they bring them all into a mission and make it like kind of like what they did on.
Oh no, not the Defenders.
Yeah, that's where I was going. Just give them from their old shows. They bring them into one series and say, okay, here you go, everybody. You asked for them. Here you go.
Al can't let them go, man. He won't let them go off of Netflix. Awesome, man. So now
one of the questions I was having was, and I don't know if any of you guys, I'm wondering who's going to be the bad. Like, which of these shows or movies introduces the big bad for this phase?
Right, because I mean, we're getting Kang in Ant-Man and the Wasp.
Yeah,
you got rumors of Galactus going on, but we don't know. It's going to be interesting to see what the big bad is.
They're speculating that WandaVision brings Mephisto. So
right.
I think the with them announcing, a Fantastic Four reboot, I think that gets us a step closer to Galactus.
Yeah, man. I'm so looking forward to all this stuff, man.
That was actually, now that you bring up Mephisto, there was an interesting screen cap in the Loki trailer where he's talking to a little girl. And in the window pane, they're like in a church. In the window pane, you see like a devil or a demon with like red horns and all that stuff. So they're like, oh crap, Mephisto. Because if you know the story from Spider-Man when he revealed his identity for Civil War, he went to Mephisto to have it changed, and Mephisto took the form of a little girl. So it's like, oh crap, we could have Mephisto. This Kang, the idea of Galactus because of Fantastic Four, like this could go anywhere. We even have Doctor Doom because of Fantastic Four. We could go anywhere. That's the crazy part of what we're doing right now.
Such good stuff.
I think I was waiting for. I know we got casting for Shang-Chi, but like, are we excited
for Shang-Chi?
For Shang-Chi, like. I was like, I kind of feel like.
Listen, once they said that they were trying to emulate The Last Dragon, sold. right here. Sold. That's it. I'm good.
Because that was the thing for me. Like, I love the idea of Shang-Chi. I love that, we're getting the Mandarin. I love that we're building upon that story.
The real one.
The real Mandarin. Now, like, I want to see.
Not like the Mandarin orange.
Just like Eternals, I'm waiting to see how these things come into play down the road. Because, I mean, they did it with other people. Like, Shang-Chi right now isn't a household name, and hopefully Marvel builds him up into being one. But I'm interested now, where does he kind of come into play where his powers aren't so much better than Iron. They're not much better than Iron Fist. So like, where does he come into play with the Eternals? Because now you have the Eternals who have this kind of one-off movie too. So it's like we have a lot thrown into the pot and no real idea of where this can go, which is pretty crazy.
Man. It's going to be exciting the next couple of months and years going on with Marvel. So, we'll look forward to doing all those reviews and talking about all these like rumors and stuff like that. So that's the one thing that we love. So listen, if you're a fan of the Marvel series out there, comment below on the YouTube there or send us an email. Let us know what you think of those Marvel shows. Which one are you looking forward to? Which one has you the most excited? And, we'd love to talk about it on the next podcast. So just go ahead and leave a comment or email us at therealfanreview@gmail.com. The next section we're going to talk about is part of this Disney investor call was Star Wars. Al, brother, we got so much Star Wars.
So much.
I mean, we got Kenobi with Hayden Christensen back as Vader. Are you kidding me? We have Andor with Cassian from the Rogue One series. We have Rangers of the New Republic with no information, just the cool logo. We got the Bad Batch. We got let's see here, what else? Lando is getting his own show. The Acolyte, which is a Sith point of view show, which is kind of crazy. We got a droid story featuring R2D2, C3PO, and we got the announcement of a movie directed by Patty Jenkins from Wonder Woman fame. She is creating the Rogue Squadron. My Lord. Lordy.
Oh, man.
Al, come on, man.
Yeah.
I'm watching now.
Kid. Don't forget Ahsoka.
Ahsoka Tano's getting her own show.
Yeah, she got her show.
I think one of you guys called that.
But
so it was definitely Brandon. So I got to tell you a little story about that. So last night we were out to dinner for one of my sister's birthday, and then my other sister, who is a big fan of the show, they were talking about Star Wars and the Ahsoka Tano show, and they were listening to one of the episodes, and my sister's fiance, when it was announced that Ahsoka Tano was getting her own show, he was like in his apartment like, Brandon called it.
Shout out to my number one fan. My only fan.
And don't forget, Taika Waititi is also getting a Star Wars movie.
Right, which I'm surprised they didn't announce it. They just talked about the Rogue Squadron one, so.
Yeah. Because
they did mention it. They mentioned it, actually.
Yeah. It's like he's probably right. I think he's writing and developing it now, so it's probably too early to give any kind of details on that. But I definitely want to see the Obi-Wan to see how they incorporate Darth Vader again, because this is going to be like that's like a staple of Star Wars. If there's one character everybody knows from Star Wars, it's Darth Vader.
I have a question for you, Al, on that, which is if Hayden Christensen is going to be playing Darth Vader, right? Yeah. If I'm not correct, when he turned into Darth Vader, he also got the Earl Jones voice. So why is he in the show?
Because they may take off the mask. They may have it.
Okay.
They may have him taking off the mask, kind of like what they, I don't know if we're going to talk about it on this episode, but kind of what they just did just recently to another character who I think we didn't think was going to take his mask off. So
soon coming. We'll talk right after that.
But there's a lot of meat coming up from both sides, whether you're a Star Wars fan or Marvel fan, man. Disney's going to be making some money over the next couple of years.
Yeah, the last time it was Warner Brothers coming out with their big announcement and putting everybody on notice, and Disney, Marvel, just came right back and was like, yeah, ours are bigger.
Oh wait, that brings me back to one of the surprise announcements that I would have bet money that they were going to release Black Widow to streaming.
Oh yeah,
That's what I wasn't expecting. Oh, May, because
yeah.
we all were saying like that was going to be the domino for a couple of these shows.
No,
Yeah,
and all the movie theaters went like this.
Thank God.
Oh, that's crazy, man.
That's
Sanj,
why
man, how about you,
even
man? Go for it.
no, even Batman being pushed back to 2022 to avoid, the whole 2021 streaming release from Warner Brothers is a big deal for the movie theaters as well, because that has, all last couple of Batman movies over $1 billion each. So you got to figure that would have been a huge loss for the
Absolutely.
theaters had Batman not been pushed back and then released on streaming. That would have been a setback for them too as well. But as far as the Star Wars news, I'm like, oh my God, it looks like there will always be Star Wars on whether it's a movie or on TV, and I can't say that that's necessarily a bad thing. They've worked
Right.
very hard to create these very, very expansive universes for these stories and these characters and everything. So it makes perfect sense that they would continue to expand it, and that it would always be. I think something like Star Wars has earned its place in our general consciousness as a society, that there should always be an incarnation of it or part of the story being told.
Gotcha, man. And how about for you, Brandon? Anything that stood out for you for the Star Wars stuff?
The fact that I was right.
You were
Ahsoka
absolutely
Tano.
right. The man has to get his credit. He was absolutely right.
I
Yeah.
am by far more forward to the Ahsoka Tano show than anything else.
Gotcha.
I mean, Kenobi a close second there. Just because I think we were all so curious about what happens between that time frame between Revenge of the Sith and then A New Hope. And
Right.
there's books that talk about Obi-Wan's life beforehand. Him getting married, having a daughter, all these things. I don't know if that comes into play, and I'm interested to see what his story is about. I mean, I feel like I already know what Ahsoka's story is about.
Right.
But I want to know what happens, why Hayden Christensen is coming back, because like you said, like there's a chance he may take off the mask, and it may stay off, kind of a thing for time being. But I think the call is interesting because I think it might be more of a flashback show sometimes with more missions with Hayden Christensen, and I didn't mind Hayden Christensen as Anakin in Revenge of the Sith. In the Clone Wars, Attack of the Clones, sorry. In Attack of the Clones, I wasn't a huge fan of Hayden Christensen. He was very, very Monroe there. But I liked him in Revenge of the Sith. So I think them going back and showing maybe some missions between him and Obi-Wan would be a really cool thing to see. And interested in that. Bad Batch seems cool. That's something I think we knew about for a while now, just never really got official word. I was thinking there was going to be some kind of Boba Fett show. But now in seeing where Mandalorian may be going, I think those plans aren't going to happen because I think his story ends rather soon.
Wow. Calling it, huh, Brandon?
But listen, the second they blew up in the span of 5 minutes, they blew up the Razor Crest and then showed Slave One. I don't think there's no way that he doesn't end up inheriting Slave One. So I think we may not be seeing Boba Fett after the season finale.
And he just got his armor back.
I know, right?
Maybe he leaves and lives a peaceful life. But I just don't see him being around anymore after this.
Sacrifice coming at finale.
Well, no, from what you were saying with Hayden Christensen coming back, they made it a point to say, like, you were saying that we may see flashbacks of missions with him and Obi-Wan or whatever, but they made it a point to say that he's coming back as Darth Vader, not as Anakin Skywalker. So I think with Hayden Christensen coming back, that show is going to be about his time as Darth Vader and the interaction between him and Obi-Wan with them being at odds, as
Mm-hmm.
opposed to being on the same side. Because we've seen a lot of them together as Jedi, even though there was tension there with Anakin being turned to the dark side, but now we get to see them fighting each other as full out enemies, you know.
That's gonna be
Or
interesting to see, man.
yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see them fighting again. I think the one thing that I'm looking forward to is actually because I'm kind of into like the bad guy story. You know what I mean? Because I find bad guys to be a little bit more interesting sometimes. So the Star Wars Disney Plus show I'm looking forward to is the Acolyte, coming from a Sith point of view. Because now I want to know what Sith they're talking about. Is this a Sith that we've never seen before? Is it a Sith that we know of? And you know, I'm Darth Sidious, or is it Darth Maul, or is it, you know, it could be the Emperor again. I just want to see
I think
what's
they have to
going
come
on
out.
there.
I think they have to come with another Sith, because all those characters have kind of been very, very one-dimensional. Like there wasn't much depth to them that I would really
Yeah.
find them believable. With them being fleshed out, you know. So I think they have to bring somebody else.
There
I
was
think maybe
there
even
was a
like
oh sorry.
sorry, no, I think the only one that they could probably do something with is Darth Maul, because he didn't really speak. And you didn't get much from him outside of his fighting. Like he seemed to be the most disciplined out of all of them, like the most Jedi-like kind of. But then they kill him, so there's that.
Yeah, no, but I think they kind of expanded his whole story on the
Yeah, he
Rebels
came
and all
back.
the other stuff. Yeah,
He's
and
actually
then
still around.
he popped up in at the end of the Han Solo movie too. Right?
Yeah, he popped up in Solo, yeah.
That's crazy.
There was a Star Wars video game that came out a long time ago that introduced Star Killer, and like his story, like he
Force
was
Unleashed.
yeah, Force Unleashed. You know, he was Vader's Padawan, and you know he ended up taking, you know, from the start of the video game, he was a bad guy, and over gradually the course of the game, he becomes somewhat good. You know, fights Vader and ends up losing, you know, and dying. But like, I feel like that's where this story could kind of take note from. I feel like it's going to end up that way. Like, I feel like no story about the bad guy ever ends with them being a bad guy. So I think that's where that story is going to kind of
They're just misunderstood. Aw.
No, I mean, did
they see the light.
we not see the Joker?
It's true. It's true.
Yeah, man. So good, man. But yeah, man, listen, all these shows you're hearing us talk about, you know, we try to keep it to the movies, but if things like this happen again or it gets rough, we'll bring them up. So we're looking forward to the movies, but these shows, man, you know, they're part of the lore as well. So listen, if you're interested in Star Wars Marvels, stay tuned with us. We'll definitely be talking about them. And listen, let us know if there's a Star Wars show that you're more interested in. Let us know below. Tell us what you're looking forward to in the Star Wars universe there. And then the last thing we're going to talk about today, guys, is going to be that Mandalorian episode number 7 is going to be called The Believer. What did you guys think about that? And before we go, let me just realize I was about to let you guys just fly. There will be spoilers. Again, this is a short show, and it's every week, so we have to kind of go into spoilers, so we can't say nothing that's not going to spoil the show for you. So if you haven't seen it, pause us, come back to us, or take a look at it. Or if you don't care, listen on. We're going to keep talking about it right now. So let's go right into it. Sanjay, did you get a chance to watch The Mandalorian episode 7, The Believer?
I absolutely did. I actually watched it Friday night.
Okay.
I think it's the best episode so far.
Wow.
You know,
Okay.
I know you guys felt the episode before, which I did too, was the best episode so far, but I think they improved and took it up a notch in the last episode as well. You know, the best part I found about the episode was the guy they took out of jail. What's his name again?
That's Bill Burr's character, but I don't know what his character's name in the show is.
Mayfeld.
Mayfeld, yes.
Yeah.
The scene where he sits down with his old commanding officer.
Ooh. Yes.
That was incredible, because him, like, you kind of had this, all right, he's a bad guy, he's in jail, you know, whatever, they go get him, they need him as a sharpshooter, whatever, right? But then coming back to what we were talking about, having a show from like the Sith point of view or whatever, the whole time you think Mando's great, right? And you think he's like the end all be all in the show. And then, you know, Bill Burr's, you know, Mayfield's trying to talk to him while they're in the transport. They're trying to get it, and Mando's just being a real dick to him, right? And then on the one hand, you're like, you know what? shut up, Mayfield. Nobody want to hear from you. You know. But then when he starts to really tell his story, you're like, you know what, Mando, you're a fucking dick. For like sitting there and just like ignoring the dude. Because he's just like, listen, you know, everybody's just trying to, you know, you have your code that you live by, but everybody's just trying to sleep at night and try to make it.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Day by day. Yeah, and then like he really started. He like single like in those, you know, few scenes, he changed your whole mind and perspective on him. The whole struggle between, you know, the rebels and the Empire, and you know, we think about it was, you know, the Jedi fighting the Sith and the good guys fighting the bad guys, and he's putting it in perspective of the normal people that are living and dying on both sides, just trying to make it day by day, and that's like something that any of us can relate to. And when he sits down across from his old commanding officer, and when, you know, and when he the interaction that they have, and when he's just like, pew, you know what, and officer, you know what. And Mandalorian looks at him like, what was that? He's just like, you know, I had some shit to take care of.
I think one of my favorite aspects of this episode was when they got through the I guess the people were trying to take the transporter, blow it up. And when they get there and they're being saluted by all the stormtroopers and everything, and you actually almost like cheering when the TIE fighters come in. And I'm like, I'm rooting for the Empire.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, and I find that so interesting because, again, it's all on your perspective, right? They're trying to accomplish something, and here's the Empire helping them out to get to their next goal. But at the same time, it's the Empire.
He's like, you never thought you'd be so happy to see the TIE fighters, huh?
Yeah.
You know? He said it in the you know, right there in the show.
Absolutely, man. Brandon, how about you, man? What you think of the show?
You know, I thought that episode was really eye-opening. You know, the exact same way you guys were saying it. There's just like, it was so less about action and more about the honesty of people, you know, and like that one scene alone with his commanding officer just talking about, well, if someone gets shot, you know, we get another one, you know, like, you know, if we lose somebody, oh, well, they got lost, you know, just them explaining their mindset as a commanding officer about kind of the Empire's belief and everything like that was like, holy shit. Like, you know, like the way they're talking about them, like, you know, we replace everybody, you know, it is what it is, blah, blah, blah. Like, you know, they're here to, so that's their job, you know, it's just the way it was coming off, you know, you were just waiting for him to shoot him. You were like, who's going to be the first one to shoot him? Who's going to be the first one to shoot? And then just the, you know, I have to give it to Pedro Pascal on this one, you know, when he took off his helmet, and, you know, revealed that he, you know, Pedro Pascal underneath, the fact that he could carry through that same awkwardness, you know, without the helmet and this and that, like, it came through so well, and he played it very well, like, you know, because he's so confident looking with the armor on, you know, and you understand that in the way he speaks to people or the way he speaks that he's a little awkward. And the fact that it finally fully comes through when his helmet's off, like, you're like, oh yeah, this guy's he's awkward as hell, like, you know, like it was cool use of characterization and really analyzing his character as a whole. Like, he did a great job representing himself behind just other than just being a voice actor for the Mando for the most part, which was really cool to see.
That's awesome, man. How about you, Al? How'd you find the episode and the whole show this week?
Excuse me. I like the episode. It made me interesting to see where they're taking the show on two facets, and we kind of touched on the two. One was that conversation in the car between Mayfeld and Mando when Mayfeld's talking to him about his helmet, and he says to him, so what's the deal? You know, we all have our rules that we're willing to break when things get messy. He goes, because you couldn't take off your helmet, but there you are with a stormtrooper's helmet. So is it that you can't take off the helmet, or you can't show your face? Because there is a difference. So he's showing him that, listen, whatever you're going to say, don't be hypocritical, because you just broke your rule. You just broke your main rule because you want to save this kid. So there are times where we break our rules. So in essence, don't look at me wrong for doing something when you just broke your, you know, God, you know,
your code
rule or whatever. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, everybody draws their line. I think the words he used, everybody has their line in the sand that they draw until things get messy.
I see. Yep.
Yeah.
So that was like where I was like, you know what? For the way they were hyping him up as this, the Mandalorian, it made me then wonder, like to what Brandon was talking about, when he takes his mask off, for someone who is so stoic, voice wise, all last season and the majority of this season,
Right.
to be so expressive when the mask was off, I found it a little out of character for what they were developing. Like I thought he'd be more stoic, especially when he put the stormtrooper. He was still like just sitting there, and then now without it, he's very expressive. He's like, "Oh shit!" Like he's making facial expressions like, "Oh shit!" Like I'm like, why are you like showing an "oh shit" face? You should be like on point, knowing how you're going to react to this and prepared. To the point where Mayfeld shot 4 people before Mando shot 1. So I'm like,
I think it illustrated just how much he hides behind the mask and the armor itself. Like especially in the fight scene, they started, they brought it in, bit by bit with Mayfeld talking about the helmet, and then he has to go up and fight. We've only seen him fight with his armor on, right? Remember, he got hit and he was visibly in pain, and you've seen him vulnerable because he's used to fight. He's so used to fighting with his armor on. Yeah, it's a crutch for him because he allows himself
cheat code
to get
on.
hit. Right? Yeah, exactly. He'll allow himself to get hit.
Yeah,
because he doesn't care, because he knows that the armor is protecting him. And you see, he had to on the fly adjust how he fights. His blaster ran out. That you've never seen his blaster run out before, right? And he had to fight with his hands. And then it culminates in him having to take off the mask, and you see just how vulnerable he is without the armor. And like Al was saying, with very little dialogue, and just facial expressions, and just how he tensed his body, that really came across that Pedro Pascal did, that he, the character was not comfortable. And as much as we know him to be like this badass warrior, he was reduced, to just an ordinary person in those moments.
And that's
when I was go for it.
And what I was gonna say was that's what made me start wondering: are they setting up this to become like not Boba Fett leaving or Boba Fett getting his own show, but like somewhat this becoming Boba Fett's show? Because even when Boba Fett didn't have his mask or his armor, he was still kicking ass and being the same stoic person that they made Mandalorians seem to be.
Right.
So is he going to take on a more mentorship role, and it's going to be both of them? Like Boba Fett joins the show and becomes like a mentor as a Mandalorian to him?
No.
Or does
I'm on Brandon's right there, kid. I think Boba eats it and Mando takes the ship.
Because I kind of like the idea of the two of them together.
I do too, Al. And since Mando, he lost his family, his parents, and everything as a kid. So he grew up orphaned. So I see that Boba could very much take over a role as a mentor and as a father figure for him, as he is now, really accepting that he feels, has real feelings for Grogu, as his child. And if I don't know if you guys caught it in the episode where they started referring to Grogu as his kid, not the kid, not the the little guy or whatever. They took his kid. They took his kid, and like he's very much. And even in that last scene, when he sends the transmission to Moff Gideon, he's like, "You've got something of mine, and you have no idea what he means to me, and he will be with me again, very soon." So I don't know if you guys had caught that. Like he's really becoming, taking on a role of fathership, fatherhood, to Grogu. And now I could see it where Bobo, takes over, takes on kind of a father mentor role for him as well. And I mean, the name of the show is The Mandalorian, and they're both Mandalorians, right? So,
Yeah. You know what's funny? I wanted to tell Sanj was that when I was watching the episode and he put on the stormtrooper stuff and he was getting his ass beat because he did once he got hit, he looked at his stiff like, oh shit, I got my stuff on. And I was like, Sanj is always like, damn, this guy is the worst Mandalorian ever. His stuff don't work. His armor don't work. Now he don't got no shit no more.
Oh man.
Yo, seriously, bro.
Yeah, so that whole dialogue. I don't know if you guys watched anybody else talk about the episode, and I didn't catch this either. But that speech that he gave to Moff Gideon was the same speech that Moff Gideon gave to him.
Yes.
When he was trying to come, when he was coming for Baby Yoda.
Because didn't they have that? Didn't they have that in the flashback at the beginning of the episode? Remember when they were doing?
Well, they gave the recap. Yeah.
Yeah, they recapped it and they showed Moff Gideon giving him that same speech, and at the end, how he gave it back to him, I was like, yeah.
Yeah, and you know what's crazy? We're all talking about this episode. We're talking about everything that happened with Mayfield and the Mandalorian and them trying to get the codes to the starship to find out where it is. And we haven't brought up, I think, probably the best action part of the show, which was the action part right after he shot the general there, Mayfield, and they tried to escape. That whole escape was bananas. You had the marshal and is it Ming Wen? I forgot her name, but that's her act. That's the real name of the person. But the two characters were snipers, sniping off the people trying to get them from afar. Then you had Boba come in with the ship to kind of rescue them. Them two trying to climb up and be chased by the stormtroopers. And dude, when I saw the Charger coming out of the Slave One ship is what it's called, the Boba ship.
Yeah.
And when he let it go, I was like, that shit looks mad familiar. And then it blew up but didn't make a sound. I was like, and it said, Wang. I was like, oh, that's from the prequels. That's from the prequels. Fucking love it.
Yeah.
You know what's crazy about this episode too? This is the first episode where you saw stormtroopers actually shoot and hit.
They were pretty excited about that too.
Yeah, I'm like, oh snap! The stormtroopers are getting they get their hits inside.
But you see did you have to see how close the guys were in order for them to hit them?
I think the best part about that last scene with the when they were being sniped off is like you could tell like they choreographed it so that way the two of them, Mayfield and the Mandalorian, weren't really sure who was getting picked off and when, because at several points the Mando was like taking up his gun, like, oh no, he's dead. Like he didn't even shoot, like picked up his gun. It's like, no, he just got shot. All right. Like so, they're just kind of like going back and forth, like they had no faith in their snipers taking out those guys. He's dead. All right, he's good. Like, you know, that was funny. Just watch them go back and forth to see like who they're gonna shoot, and like, no, they're already dropping.
Yeah, man.
Speaking of like the stormtroopers like actually hitting people, like I remember, it makes me remember this GIF I saw, or GIF, whatever whichever way you pronounce it, of stormtroopers shooting, but they were shooting at red shirts from Star Trek. The stormtroopers don't hit any of them, but the red shirts die anyway.
Hilarious, man. And then the last thing I'll ask you guys is because I listen, Bill Burr killed this episode from beginning to end. He stole the show this whole episode with what he was saying and how he said it and his character development from the beginning to the end. What did you guys think of Manfield's redemption at the end when he shot the general? He also blew up the refinery and they let him go. What did you guys think of that?
Then they were deserving.
Yeah, he earned it. He earned his redemption there.
I'm sad that he's not with them for the next mission, man. I just want him back into this show, man. I want him as part of the team, man.
Who's to say he doesn't become it?
Right? You never know. I mean, they left his ass in the damn planet. So
I think the ending that they gave him, or the what they did for him at the end of the episode has its own poetry to it, because he talked about his life. You got into his life as a soldier on the wrong side, right? And then here's his redemption. So now he talked about everybody's just trying to sleep at night. So for him to join them up and go on these quests and things, I think he's at a point where like I did some bad stuff, but I redeemed myself. now I'm just gonna go and live peacefully, like that. You just walk off into the sunset kind of thing. I really like that they did it that way, instead of having him. Yeah, it'd be cool if he joined the team because he's hilarious. You know, him and
Right,
Mando
yeah.
going at each other is hilarious. But I think for the story that made the most sense.
I kind of also agree with you, Hob, in the same sense. Just with the ending, like he redeemed himself. Like, all right, I'm gonna leave you on this planet though. Take care of yourself.
Yeah, how they were just like,
You
yeah,
just
you
blew
know,
up the whole
guy,
empire in your face, but you're good. You're good.
You're good. You're good. You're like, oh man, it's a shame. Mr. Shane Mayfield died in the explosion. And he's like, wait, what? I'm right here.
I was like,
Oh.
man, they couldn't just take him anywhere else. Like they had to leave him there. Or, like not like they had a ship that flies or anything. Like
and it's not even like a planet where he could like get another ship or like hire another ship. It's like, yo,
he blew up
he's
the only
stuck there.
ship.
Yeah, he is stuck there.
So crazy, man. Absolutely nuts. But listen, man, next week is going to be the finale. We'll definitely be talking about that next week. And also, we're going to be doing our first prep in a long time, man. We're going to be doing a Wonder Woman 84
I gotta
prep.
ask, is this
Go
our
for it.
first prep of the year?
It feels like it.
First
You
and
know
last.
what? I think we did a prep for
First
Bad
Southwest?
Boys in January.
Oh my god.
Jesus, in January. This is the next one. Unbelievable.
Oh my God.
So, we'll talk to you guys about Batman versus Superman, Wonder Woman, and also Justice League next week to kind of get you a reminder of where the Wonder Woman character is and what we thought of those movies and get you ready for Wonder Woman 84 coming out on Christmas. So that'll be our episode for next week, the finale of Mandalorian and the prep for Wonder Woman. So listen, guys, we want to thank you as always for listening and watching. We just want to say, be safe out there and, just take care of yourselves, because even myself, who wears goggles and masks and all that stuff all the day, I recently came up positive for COVID-19. So, I'm just making my way through it. It's not as bad for me, but for other people, it hits differently. But, as cautious as I am, I still got the virus. So just be careful, because one of the things that's really tough is the stuff that they don't tell you about. You may get all these symptoms, but the worst part is if you have a family, you can't see them, you can't hang out with them. You got to be separate from them. So that's the hardest part of the COVID-19 thing, for me at least. But, coming from Long Island, we thank you. Saying goodnight is my boy Sanj.
Good night, everybody, and be safe. Hob, wishing you a speedy recovery as well. And for those for our Jewish brothers and sisters celebrating Hanukkah, Shalom.
Very nice, my brother B.
Thank you. And for all our healthcare workers like Sanj and Javier, thank you so much for all you guys are doing.
You're awesome, man. Our man in the chair, Al.
Yeah. Have a good night, everybody, and be safe.
And as always, Hav here saying good night, thanking you again, and we'll catch you on the next episode. Till next time.